Welcome back to another episode of Penny Helpjes. This is episode 618. Last couple of videos were really good. I liked doing that vintage uh, thin red striped penny roll. It was interesting. Oh, we got some copper in this one. Nice. Now, is it 10 copper pennies? Maybe not. Might be 8, 7 or 8 or 9. Might be 10. We'll find out very, very shortly. So, comments are a great place for content discussion. No close AM. Great place for content discussion. I've seen my comments in other on other channels become. Let's see. First copper. It looks like copper. No, it's not. That tricked me. 84D. Let me check out that D real quick. Prior to 1989. Oh yeah, nice. Well, to the top, it looks like a repunched mint mark. So I guess that's where I'm looking. I'm looking at the top left. Zoom in a bit. Now, is the letter just smushed? Well, I don't see. If I saw that like shifting of the die on the other numbers and letters, then I would say maybe. But honestly, it's the only element that looks doubled. So nice. All right, we'll put that to the side. And I've seen other, like I said, I've seen other channels use my comments as discussion. And I guess if someone leaves, either, a stimulating or even derogatory, you know what? The funny thing is, I think derogatory comments get the most attention. And it's for two reasons. One, they typically tend to be the most challenging, right? Like, oh, the economy and no, inflation and gold have an inverse relationship. Well, if inflation and gold have an inverse relationship, why are they both going up at the same time, stupid? Something like that. You know what I mean? And then you have to go and pull out your charts and you have to, so, and explain what you mean. A copper large date 82, Philadelphia. Nice. First copper penny. I don't know about that 10, man. That's gonna be a tough one for this video. Maybe we'll find something else interesting to make up with the shorts. So right about now, you're saying to yourself, well, come on, Jess. What comment did you get that you're referring to? So I have, this is episode 618, right? So we're going on literally 2 years straight of penny roll videos. Now 600 in it and by itself, 613 penny rolls is not a significant number. Really talking about it's enough, it's enough to get your footing under you and to have a really good idea about what it is that you're doing, and have your direction and have all your bookmarks for your websites to check for certain it's enough to be amateur, to be amateur level. And I would have to say that's probably where I'm at, honestly. Maybe with pennies slightly above amateur, maybe towards intermediate. Only because I have done pretty extensive research in the past couple years, and I have gotten a lot of feedback from others, my members and subscribers, and so it's almost like the feedback I've gotten took me to the next level. You know what I mean? Which most people are not going to get, right? If you're just penny roll hunting on your own at home and no one is correcting you, then you're going to lose that hope. That's a huge part of my learning experience. 97. All right, no double ear. Huge part of my learning experience is the feedback I've gotten from my members and subscribers. That was a nice looking zinc scent. Let's see if I put it there. Another nice one. Because it takes off the off the board a misconception or something I'm doing wrong, where most people don't have that. Oh, nice. Very nice. Very nice. Don't have that luxury. It really is a luxury for me to get all this feedback from thousands and thousands of people, right? I got well over 16,000 subscribers. So if you start watching, like if today somebody comes on the channel and they start watching my videos, they're going to see that like I'm pretty lost in the sauce. I know how to identify, as of 2 years ago. And it's more than 2 years because remember, I did other stuff. I used to do other stuff like marbles and stamps and other hobby stuff. It's only the past year and a half that I started to specifically focus on pennies. And if you start watching my videos today, you might think that my episode 100 was like yesterday, right? Because you can watch episode 100 and then an hour later you can watch episode 600, right? 2017. And you might think, no, this guy was a moron 5 minutes ago, and now he thinks he's a genius. No, it's that one video was a year ago or a year and a half ago when I didn't know what the extra V, for example, the extra V, there had to be a whole week when I first started this channel where my member Eric taught me about the extra V. It must have took me 4 or 5 videos for me to understand that simple meaning of what I thought the extra V. How can I say this? I didn't understand that the extra V was what it looked like. So every little scratch that was in a crisscross in that general area, I thought was an extra V. And it wasn't until I looked at enough of them, it wasn't until I actually found one. Also, I found 3 or 4 of them at this point. And I think I bought one also, and I looked at a bunch of them. No, the extra V looks like a little V, and it looks punched in most times, right? There are some that are a little bit light, but most of them, they're very clear. But for like 4 videos, so if you watch any of those videos, you would think this, you would think like, oh, this guy is, he's really new. And that would be true, right? Those videos are from a year and a half ago, right? And since then, a year and a half is a long time, right? If you think about it, if you take a class in college, it's undergraduate, it's a couple hours a week for a quarter, right? For whatever, 14 weeks, give it something like that. And you become pretty good at whatever it is that you were studying. You have a pretty decent understanding if you really applied yourself, right? All right, well, times that by 2 years. So I've learned a lot, and a lot more than the average person, because most people again don't get the feedback. Here's copper penny number 2. So far, so much for 10 copper pennies. It's a nice one though. Especially in regards to the difference between worthless double dies, and true double dies, and shelving, and other things relating to expensive errors. And of course, the more common errors like die clashes, die chips, strike throughs, and off centered. Another copper penny number 3, I think so. Yep, 1980. For example, on that 8 and that 0, they're wider at certain points on them, but it's not doubling, right? And it's not extra thickness, a type, right? And I learned about the different type double dies type. I think it's 1 through 6 or 1 through 7. And the most common that I'm aware of is the extra thickness. And I used to think that if the letters or numbers were extra wide, that meant that they were extra thick, and that's really not what it is. Extra thickness is really pretty close to a true double die. You would actually see the double image on the letter or the number, right? But they would be within themselves. They wouldn't be separated as much as in what people consider a true double die, like the 1955 or what is it, the 1962 that I found that real incredible not, I guess it could be considered misstruck, but mechanical doubling on. I found a really serious. I mean, there's some mechanical doublings that are so serious that they might even be able to trick an intermediate person, but an expert would know probably right away, or a numismatist would probably know right away whether or not something is mechanical doubling or extra thickness. But that I didn't know in the beginning, and probably for about 3 or 4 months, I was calling for extra thickness class. I think it's class. I forgot what class is. I think it's class 1 or 2 or 6, something like that. You can look it up. I think I might have it the link below for the different classes. For example, on that E, most likely not extra thickness, right? And not a double dice. Most likely just a really good example of shelving. It's only on the one letter. And also on, so you're talking about on a double die, it's usually a pretty large portion of the die is doubled. So there'll be like the whole Liberty, maybe even the whole Liberty, the whole date, everything will be moved over because the whole die, sometimes this part of the die got struck again by another hub. by another die. So someone left a comment saying, look at this guy, one day he doesn't know what he's talking about. The next day he thinks he's a numismatist. And I had to laugh at myself because I know what's going on there. The person watched an earlier video, right? Because he actually refers to, I used to have a problem saying numismatist. I used to get tongue tied on the word numismatist. And that was probably about a year ago, maybe more. Now I don't get tongue tied on the word because I know how it's written. It's written a little weird, as far as to pronounce for me. So it's a little difficult for me to pronounce, but not anymore because I've done it. I said it so many times. The 88, we're looking for the put a flare G. No flare G. So no, I am not a numismatist. A numismatist really means that you've taken the classes to become a numismatist, right? You might have even went to school. Some schools that offer some sort of like ancient history will also offer course in numismatics, and you can get certified as you can not become certified as a numismatist, but you can get a numismatist certification. And I have briefly looked over the courses for. And matter of fact, I'm not even going to look up what the definition of numismatist. I'm going to go off the top of my head what I understand it to be, which is you kind of really learn. A lot of it is about history. A lot of it is about coin grade. I think a whole section of numismatics is grading, right? Understanding the difference between condition of a coin and how that affects the value. A lot of numismatics is not about necessarily coin errors like I focus on a lot here. And I think it's because if I'm correct, and people, you can correct me in the comments below, it's because a lot of people who take numismatist and numismatic courses is because they're going to look for a job at one of these coin grading companies. It's for a job, right? NGC, what is it? PCGS or PCGS, ANIS or ANNIS, whatever. One of these coin grading companies. And a big part of that is knowing the condition prior to putting it into a slab, and that really affects the value tremendously. 2000, we're looking for the wide AM, no wide AM. And it's also about knowing the different types of coins, and it's really a very broad education that numismatists have, and also this language that they use, right? Quadrants, and again, you don't have to be a numismatist to know this. Like, I have one of my subscribers is very knowledgeable about Eric, Kenai Collectibles. He's very knowledgeable about in regards to numismatist vocabulary, right? And I have not focused on that as much because it is kind of complicated. It takes a lot of time, but they use terms in relationship to where something is on a coin, the direction, all kinds of really technical language that the common person does not use. And I don't use that language, right? Mostly because I'm not too familiar with it. And I haven't applied myself in that area. So I never claimed to be a numismatist. I never claimed to be an expert. I'm closer to an intermediate penny roll hunter, right? Because that's really where my focus is. And one of my goals on this channel is really to share what I've learned up to this point, which is more than probably 99.9% of you out there, and to help bring you guys and ladies closer towards my level by understanding certain things that I have went through up to this point, to make your experience more fun and full, right? To make your coin roll hunting experience more full. That's all. But again, all right, we got another copper penny towards the end. It's a nice one too. That's number 6. So, all right, I said between 6 and 10. If we find one more, that'll bring us to 7. And I hope that's the case. I hope people have learned along with me, and those who are more knowledgeable than I am, which it's not that. I mean, to be more knowledgeable than me, that means you've spent a lot more time. You're doing thousands and thousands of penny rolls. You've been doing research maybe for years and years and years, and maybe you have taken a course in numismatics. So if the person who left that comment is watching this video, thank you for leaving that comment. Hopefully I have shed some light on why in previous videos, my understanding was very amateurish and basic, and that at this point it's much more thorough, flushed out, and I have a lot more concrete understanding of vocabulary regarding coins, and specifically pennies and their various errors, and subject matter you'd like to know regarding penny roll hunting. And that's really all I'm trying to do. So thank you for all of you who have stood here for 23 minutes. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.